The role of the United Nations is not to issue reports counting the dead, but to save lives. Yet we had United Nations forces in our countries, in the villages, watching the terrorists pass by to go and kill people, saying that their mandate was not to fight against terrorists. So that is from the point of view of the very posture of these organizations, that think they are there like vultures, to count the dead and do nothing. Welcome again, guys. So let's jump right into tonight's topic. So in Turkey, there they have the Antalya diplomatic forum they keep every year annually. This year they invited, well, not invited. The Sahel nation attended Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and they send their three foreign ministers there to represent the Sahel nation, the Confederation. And during that, the United Nations put out a piece stating that since 2002 or 2001, there's a 22% uptick in terror attack, and deaths in the Sahel nations, specifically in these three countries. And this is completely utter propaganda for sure, but I'm gonna show you why. The three wise men, which is the three foreign ministers of these Sahel nations, which is what I'm calling them, they were on a stage doing an interview and they asked them the question and they individually answered the question. You're gonna see how powerful these guys are, how educated they are, and how smart they are, and they do not tolerate propaganda or lies on their countries, and they set them straight. You're gonna love this interview, but take a listen to it and let me know what you think about it in the comment section. Boom.
I like what you've said, but let me just read a report, and I'm sure the three countries know about this report that I'm about to read, that was read by a UN official. And it said that deaths from terrorism in the world rose to 8,352 in 2023. And 2022 deaths from terrorism, let me just repeat that again. Deaths from terrorism in the world rose to 8,352 in 2023. That is a 22% increase from the previous year and the highest level since 2017. And some of these deaths from terrorism have been reported in the regions where you come from. There are concerns that withdrawal of the three countries from ECOWAS will weaken both regional unity and cooperation in combating insurgency. But at the same time, there was some sort of conviction that your leaders, the leaders of your country, were giving to their people by saying that they will join forces to create a 5,000 strong military unity to fight terrorism in the region. How is this possible? Yet on the figures that I've given, and yet there is a concern that withdrawal of the three will weaken both regional unity and cooperation in combating insurgencies.
To respond to that, first, the United Nations need to move away from the posture of counting the dead and instead adopt a strategy of action. What did the United Nations do for 10 years in our countries to be able to fight against terrorism? Zero. People fought hard, many died, but it was an operation that was inadequate. So the role of the United Nations is not to issue reports counting the dead, but to save lives. Yet we had United Nations forces in our countries, in the villages, watching the terrorists pass by to go and kill people, saying that their mandate was not to fight against terrorists. So that is from the point of view of the very posture of these organizations, that think they are there like vultures, to count the dead and do nothing. So I'd rather ask the question to the United Nations, or to ECOWAS, or to others, who asks, what have you done to fight against these terrorist groups? But I also think that some of these questions are also motivated by by other actors who are behind them, who have their own issues with us, who believe that nothing has been done at the level of ECOWAS. Did ECOWAS put in place forces to fight against the terrorists? How many people did they kill? How much equipment did they give to our countries? I think that can be counted today. Our countries, with the investment we had made, the general level of insecurity has decreased, I'll be able to discuss these figures with anyone. Go to the field in our countries. In Mali, for example, for 10 years, Mali did not control more than 40 to 50% of the territory. Since the departure of these groups, we have been able to control back 40 to 50% of our territory. The state has deployed, the army was deployed, social services are returning. That does not mean that terrorism is finished, but we are seeing a qualitative improvement today. The Mali army today has the capability of the other armies of like Burkina Faso and Niger to do this work. So I believe that we really need to be able to reverse these things instead of just giving these figures. But now, to also say that, well, our leaders came, we said that we put in places. First, our leaders, in a foot of 5,000, we said that we're putting in a unified force. Our three armies work together like a single army. Beyond that, we will put in place a unified force that will be an integrated army of the three countries, which is doing extraordinary work, which is fighting the terrorist groups. Many terrorist leaders have surrendered. Many have also been neutralized. And today we are in an offensive posture. I believe that these are postures that motivated by other geopolitical agendas. We believe that the population of our country should be asked if we are moving forward or backward.
Thank you. So, Niger, given the current dynamics of change in the world and the regional border, from where you sit, what kind of future awaits the three countries of the Sahel region, and also in terms of integration?
Thank you. Before I get into that question, perhaps to say a little more about the issue of the dead. Who was on the ground to count these dead? Because if you realize, there are fewer and fewer attacks against our armed forces. The terrorists are complaining more to civilians. It is a mission of impotence. These terrorist groups know where our armed forces are, but they do not attack them. They go to marketplaces to attack the defenseless people, kids, women. And I will tell you, since our three countries had made the foreign forces leave, the situation has clearly improved. It is clearly improved because our defensive and security forces have regained the full initiative of their actions. Before, when there was an attack, for the Niger or Mali or Burkina Faso army to respond, it needed an order. It had to wait for the order from the French command, or I don't know what other foreign forces. And making them leave is not just that. It also helps to cut off the sources of funding for terrorists. And who finance these terrorists? It is these same countries that claim to help us. It is these countries that finance terrorism. And making them leave cut off the terrorists not only from source of supply but also from sources of funding. So whether they like it or not, on the ground there are fewer and fewer attacks, and there are fewer and fewer deaths, and there are fewer and fewer attacks against our security forces, and the situation is stabilizing, and we have not said, as Minister Diop said, that terrorism is finished. It is a long-term fight. We know that, but we know that significant progress, essential progress, has been made. Now, concerning the future of the region, if you have noticed that we were first in the logic of an alliance and very quickly we moved to a confederation. Currently, it is the Confederation of Sahel States. So the integration model of a confederation, I don't need to go back to that and explain. And what we want to do is to have a pilot project. The AS will be like a pilot project for Africa. And now it can expand to other African countries, or it can be replicated, it can be reproduced in other regions of Africa if they think that the integration model we are taking convinces them. In any case, our project is essentially based on 3 or 4 criteria. The first is our sovereignty. We no longer want to be under the control of any country whatsoever, whatever the country is. Second is respect for the dignity of our people, because we have always been taken for less than humans. We no longer want Africans to be seen as less than human beings. The third thing is the interest of our populations. We are open to all countries in the world to cooperate, but on conditions that the interest of our population is respected. The resources of our countries must first benefit our populations, which has not been the case until very recently. And the last criteria on which is our cooperation is based the fact that our cooperation can be with the countries of the AES individually or without our confederation. Since we have in any case economic convergence criteria on which we cooperation is built, that's what I wanted to say about the future of our integration.
All right. So to Burkina Faso, in this regard, what your counterpart has said. So what are the ways for the Alliance of Sahel States be able to amplify its influence in the global politics? Because this is a new confederation that was formed by the three Sahel countries, the three countries from the Sahel region.
Thank you, Miss. Allow me to go back a little bit to this report that gives a bit of a macabre assessment. I am always impressed by the way the facts are reported, and I hope that the same report mentioned that in Burkina Faso it was impossible to organize the Tour de Faso in 2022. But that we did it in 2023, in 2024, and we will do it in 2025. What does that mean? In 2022, our country was 50% occupied by terrorist groups. In 2024, we are today at more than 71% of recovered territories. Before 2022, more than 6,000 schools were closed in Burkina Faso. In 2023, 1,500 schools reopened. 2.1 million people were displaced in 2022. In 2024, there are fewer than 900,000 people in displacement camps. I think that reports like that must mention exactly what is being done. We have just closed the Pan-African Film and Television Festival of Ouagadougou, FESPACO. It is one of the biggest festivals that has not been able to be organized for more than 3 years, and that mobilized practically 50 delegations from all over the world, and that examined 235 films. I think that these are statistics that speak of a situation that is real. I, who am here speaking to you, am from a region where it is not possible to go for 3 years. My own village, it was not possible to go there for 3 years. But when you are in Ouagadougou and you have a school friend who calls you to tell you that he's in his field and clearing the field that he is not seen for 3 years because of insecurity, you realize that you have a reading that is totally different from what emerges in these reports. So I totally agree that we related to the situation, but I want us to be able to go on to an objective basis. And evaluation is not done in a living room. It is not done 6 hours away by flight. It is done on the ground. I am not telling you what I read. I'm telling you what I have lived. What I have lived. I come from Burkina Faso, and I go to all 4 corners of Burkina Faso. And the Tour de France is not done in armored vehicles. It is by bicycles. They go from village to village, from province to province, and it is kilometers, and it is spread over several weeks. No cyclist left with a broken finger. So when it comes out in a report that the situation is only getting worse, and the whole world is alarmed to overshadow the effort that we are being made by these regimes that are in place and that are supported by population. The population, when they die, they denounce you, but when they support you, it is that somewhere they manage to find their way.
Going back to my question, it's good that you've given your response to my previous question, the United Nations report. But in this regard, let me go back to my question because we also need to open the floor for the audience. In this regard, what are the ways for the, for the new cooperation, that was formed by the 3 countries? Is that new cooperation able? How will it be able to amplify its influence in the global politics, and also contribute to the international systems through this same confederation?
Yes, well, I think that what the new confederation is trying and succeeding in doing is, first of all, to offer new perspectives of this entity, which has long been confined and presented as a space of peripheral without peripheral. I believe that Minister Job return, we plan to refocus things on our own capacities, offer a secure space for investors. In Burkina Faso, we have inaugurated more than 5 factories this year. And I believe that if the situation were as dangerous as they say, we would not have seen this investment anywhere. I believe that there is an improvement working to create a Sahelian market first, driven by Sahelian people and supplied by Sahelian people between Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, but also with other countries that are at the level of ECOWAS. The 3 countries maintain very good relationship with with each one of them. We have this we have this we must safeguard, strengthen, but develop first for the benefit of the population of the Sahel. That is what was missing, and that is why I spoke earlier of extra vision. Today, what we want is that if the goal of Burkina Faso shines internationally, it is that we feel the sparkle in the eyes of the child of the Sahel. That's it. Nigeria cannot produce uranium and sleep in the dark. We are working to give a new face to our economy that first shows the population that this work, that they are the primary beneficiaries before developing relations with others. So I believe that it is above all that which makes we will say, the specificity and of the federation. And it is this vision that is carried by the 3 heads of state to go on our own capacities to build resilient and sustainable economies.